Welcome to Live from the Heart podcast. My name is Anne-Claire Meret. I help beautiful beings feeling empowered to create their lives. I coach, teach, create programs, write books, among other things, and I love it. It took me years of healing and coaching, but I finally found a way back to my heart. Today I thrive and help people thrive too. Everything is happening faster and faster. I feel we are being supported in so many ways. I know we can thrive on a collective level. If you want to create from your heart, you're in the right place. Welcome for another episode where I am delighted to welcome Sascha Zeilinger. Welcome, Sascha.
Hello.
I'm super happy to have you as a guest. I had a chance to meet you in real life, in person, in Berlin. And you do an inspiring work. I've been following what you're doing for many years. And quite often, I know that you're in meetings with Christian just the door next to my office because you work together. You are with another beautiful co-creator, Indri. You have given birth to a school, Spirit of Breath Collective, where you teach people how to breathe and how to reconnect to themselves. And not only that, but you also offer events in Berlin. You also work with cold exposure. You also work with dads. And we're going to talk about all of this. And first of all, thank you for being who you are in the world and shining your light and posting memes, because that's one of my things too. And for the people who don't have the chance to know you, can you please say who you are with your own words?
First of all, hello, and thank you for having me. Really looking forward to this conversation. A little bit of my background. My name is Sascha. I live here in Berlin with my little family. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter. I have a background in the corporate world. And then in 2017, I've decided that I'm leaving the corporate world. By the time, not knowing where to go or what to do. The only thing I knew, I wanted to go surfing, and I ended up in Bali with my surfboard. And there, at the end of my journey, I got in touch with breathwork for the first time. And looking back to that event, my whole life changed. And ever since, I'm following the path of, so to say, self-healing, breathwork, conscious breathing techniques, and what you mentioned at one point, cold exposure. Came into my world, and then of course the birth of my little daughter, and being with her, she became the biggest mentor that I'm having in my life right now. And it's an interesting journey full of roller coasters, but it's worth walking down that path.
It is. And you offer events in which there are sometimes men and women and sometimes just men. Is it easy to get men in your events? I'm asking because I have not many men in my programs. How do you do to get the men to be interested in breathing better, mindfulness practices, creating beautiful habits, and how do you inspire them to do it?
That's a good question. I mean, at the beginning, when I started this journey, I was like, everybody has to do this, and I was like overrunning them with my ideas and everything. And at one point, I realized the more I push, the less people join that path or join that journey. So the only thing I can be is like being an inspiration and living my life that I'm doing. And at one point, maybe then people come up, and then I'm super open if they ask me, okay, what do you change in your daily routines, or what has changed in your life? And of course, living here in Berlin, there's definitely more openness to that kind of work, but definitely it has changed. So I'm working in this field for over 5 years now, and definitely there's a change that also speaks more and more to men. And also maybe because my own path has brought me to working more with men, because it's I see it also in the terms of self-healing, because at one point I realized that a lot of my traumas that are stuck with me um, has something to do with the relationship to my father. And then once I started looking into that, I think I kind of, in a way, you send out an energy, and people resonate with that energy.
Oh, that's true. By being who you are, you attracted the right people who were ready for that kind of healing and transformation.
Yeah, totally, totally.
And also your journey, because before we started to record, you were also sharing that being present and having practices on a daily basis and cultivating healthy habits and changing your life, it's not easy already for anyone, but also when you build a family and when you have a little kid, it's even more difficult. How was it for you and how is it now?
um, I would say, you first of all, you have to be flexible, and at one point I started to trying to implement like my daily routines, but um, like I said, it's not easy. And I found myself where, when I started listening to these podcasts and all these entrepreneurs, doing the 5 a.m. club and 4 a.m. club, and they do the journal for 1 hour and they do
Miracle
yoga for one
mornings?
hour. Sorry?
Miracle mornings?
Yeah. And it was like, how the fuck do they do it? It's like, and what I do now is, for myself, that I try to get up 1 hour before the family wakes up, so I can do some little bit of stretching, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of breath work. But along the journey, I found myself also at one point pushing it too hard and like forcing myself, because when you have a night where your kid wakes up like 3, 4, 5 times per night, and or she's sleeping in bed with you, and everybody who has a child knows, when your child sleeps in the middle of the bed, that means that she's sleeping perfectly, but you hardly sleep at all. And then getting up, even though I haven't slept really the whole night, and getting up and doing my morning routine, that sometimes led to that I was completely this like completely tired and exhausted at in the middle of the day. So what it really taught me along the journey is being more like compassion with myself, and also giving me the space. So if I'm too tired to do it in the morning because I had a rough night, then maybe I leave out the day completely, or maybe I only do like not an hour, I do at least like the 10-minute breath work or 10 minutes of meditation in the morning. Or I try to create um, some other time during the day to at least do a little bit. That can mean for you, for example, I have the freedom, since I work as a freelancer, um, that I can, when after I bring my child to the kita, then I create some space to do my practices then. But
Mm.
the main thing was being not so harsh on myself if I'm not doing it in the morning. That was the biggest learning for me there.
Yeah. Well, I don't realize because I'm a woman, but it feels to me that men are going through some some hard time, because from the outside, at least, I can see that they don't really know how to position themselves today, with the women like being wanting to be strong women and independent and, and all of that, and men trying to find where they want to stand, and where they stand just because they're men, like genetically, and also wanting to contribute much more than their dads did or grandfathers did. So how do you actually, on a daily basis, how are you the creator of your experience as being a dad and a man today in the world?
That's a heavy one. um, yeah, what for me it is like is being present.
Mm.
I think that's the most important thing, and that's something like I mentioned that my little daughter is she's the most teacher for me when it comes to that, because the only thing she wants from you is being present. And then when you think you can adopt it in so many other lives, every time you go in interaction with a person, it's like you can ask yourself, how present am I in this moment? In this moment, and like, if, where's my awareness in this moment? And and sometimes it works good, and sometimes you completely fail. But then again, it's like meeting yourself with compassion. And what you mentioned, like men in our society nowadays, is like there a lot of men are completely lost because they don't know how to behave in society. And also terms this term of like toxic masculinity is floating around, a general masculinity. And then when you see that, it has often like a negative it comes with a negativity. But I would describe it more if you have mature uh, man and immature man. And I think and this has a lot to do with how present you are, and how this also means how present are you with your feelings, with your emotions.
So for the men who have not been used to, being in touch with their emotions and talking about it and figuring out who they want to be, it's not too late. It's something that you can learn along the way. It's just like also women sometimes have to learn it. Although sometimes it comes easier for us because we've been talking basically our whole lives with girlfriends, and some men have never actually opened up to talk with their friends. So you do that also. You offer this kind of work, and you also do that with other dads. Like, how is it to lead men to open up?
It's one of the most beautiful things to do. First of all, I have to say it's selfish, because it's like every time I meet with men and we start sharing, it's also for myself self healing, and it is such a powerful energy once you're able to open up to other men and share from a vulnerable place, and knowing that you won't be judged, that you don't gotta like pushed over or anything, that you're just like other men are there to receive you fully, like the way you are. And when you like what you mentioned, like a step further is like doing this with dads, because like becoming a father, uh, so many things are changing in your life. And this also took me, I would say, nearly a year to fully. And I have to say, sometimes I still don't even realize that I have a little child now, because when I look at her, it's like I can't believe it, that like that me and my wife and this came out of us. Um, but supporting men on their journey, and also becoming a father, sharing the same fears, maybe the guilt, the challenges you're having, the frustrations you're having. And it's, yeah, I do this with so much gratitude that I can follow that path, and I hope I can inspire other men to join the journey, because there's so much fulfillment with it. And because ever since I started this journey, I also started having another relationship with my wife, with my siblings, with my mom, and also with other men. Because so often, when you're surrounded by other men, you have this like testosterone competing atmosphere, and like opening up conversation that goes a completely different direction, and sharing from the heart. It's just like, yeah, I just can say it's so fulfilling, and it's so healing. It's so damn healing.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I think so. Most of my audience is women, and I think they're gonna love listening to your words, because I feel that some women are wondering, what the fuck are the men doing? But I think that it's also because there are not so many offers for them. They don't know where to find someone to talk to. They don't even know it exists sometimes. So how did you see that it's changing also? Maybe is there more practitioners like you talking about it, open up around those conversation, and freeing like the speech around that, like dads also suffer, and they also need to be heard, and they also need to create spaces where they can figuring out their guilt, their frustrations, and their fears, and all of their struggles, so that they can let these solutions emerge together.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think there's definitely a movement going on. So there are like, I mean, Jordan Peterson. He's one of the most well known guys out there. Of course, he's like, people talk about him very controversy. But then you have there's a guy he called Dan Doty. He's offering these fatherhood courses, and yeah, then Nick Warner. You had him also as a guest on
Yeah.
your podcast, and there's definitely a shift going on. We did some workshops here in Berlin, where 20, 30, 50 men showed up, and then we did workshops with them for 2 3 days. um, there's Ian Wilkes. He's currently living in Mexico. He's also offering different programs, online programs. um, yeah, and even if you're like in the community you're living, that there's no immediate person there who you can share with, then like try to create your own community. Maybe if it's not with your friends, but maybe there's your surrounding, the way where you're at, you find other people who start, and then start your own movement, so to say.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, be the creator. If it does
Yeah,
not exist, create it.
yeah.
Yeah. um how is it to be
Just
a
to, sorry,
yeah.
just to, like, you will be surprised, because once you open up, for example, what we do when we in our man workshops, like, to begin with, we create a circle, and then we say, step into the circle, and then we give prompts like, who was ever bullied in school, step into the circle. Who was like, your dad never said he loved you? Who had problems having an erection? And so on. And you were surprised how many people step into the circle. And then you suddenly realize you're not alone with your fears. You're not alone with your doubts, with your guilt, with your shame. And the more often you step into that space, and the more you're opening up, it's like the more you can let go of, and the more you're able to integrate and heal yourself. And I think that's especially when it comes to men, that you think that you're alone with your anxiety, or with your fears you're having, or with your doubts. But yeah, just be courageous and step into that space and start opening up.
Wow, this is a journey of reconnecting with all the parts of you, and understanding who you are and how you became who you are now, and loving yourself fully. And that's much easier with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, and it's especially comes also when you just do it with men. It also has other, for example, when I offer my breathwork sessions, you have, because that's also something you asked to begin with, is like, the energy is like, of course, it's you have a different energy in the space if it's like, if it's men and women together breathing together, or if it's just men or just women. And yeah, but it's like I said, it's very powerful if men come together, and then suddenly, it's also because men are so afraid of tears and crying. But it's like, when you're in that space and one man starts crying, and suddenly it's like the invitation for everybody else. And then
Oh, it's
magic is
beautiful.
magic is happening.
It's beautiful. I must admit that I'm a fly on the wall in Nick's program. I'm just, watching all the group circles recordings. And I find it super amazing to be able to see that level of vulnerability and everything that's being shared. It's super precious, and we don't realize how much men can struggle earlier, before we started the podcast, you said that men are struggling to have everything, to be a good man, to be a good person, to be a father, to be sometimes an entrepreneur, or to be great at work and to make the money and all the roles. And it's heavy to carry. And how do you support men to become comfortable with their roles?
It's been a self journey for me as well, because I also stepped into that role, and then I think it's also, again, what I mentioned a lot of times, this word compassion with yourself, towards yourself. Because as men, often we think we need to have it all together. Like, you want to be the perfect dad, you want to be the perfect husband, you want to be the perfect, within your community, a cool friend, the family, in your job. But allowing yourself, it's okay to have it not all together at all time. It's okay to fuck it up at one time, but then it comes again to presence. Like, for example, if I'm lose it with my child, am I present? Do I recognize what's happening inside of me? Do I recognize that I get triggered? Do I recognize that I maybe used some wrong words? Or when it comes to my relationship with my partner, do I recognize that at one point that I'm not so close with her? But do I share it then from a vulnerable place? Do I share it with her and letting her know what's going on inside of me, and not closing up? Because that's, or I know for myself, like, normally when I find myself in this situation, what I normally used to do is like closing up completely and creating more and more distance. And through these practices, mindfulness practices, breath work, ice bathing, meditation, um, knowing and joining different workshops and so on, that I've learned to be more present and then feel it in my body. And then from that space, like opening up and allowing my wife to be there with me, allowing my kid to be there with me. And that's something, basically, so with my own healing journey, I want to invite other men to walk down that path with me, to open up possibilities, and once again creating a space, a safe space where you can also share from a vulnerable place, that it's okay if you fuck it up at one point, but then it's like, how do you step up again? And yeah, how much can you, or the willingness to fix it, and the openness, and yeah.
For me, this sounds like true leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't thought about it this way, but it's basically, yes, because you're taking full responsibility,
Yeah.
and full responsibility. But it starts with yourself, because only when you take full responsibility for yourself, you can also do it for your family, for your wife. You can support, but
Yeah.
it starts with yourself, and it's an inner healing journey. Um,
Yeah. And when you're capable to do that, then it means you can be an inspiration for the others around you too, because you have no idea how much you being in your power and acknowledging your truth and being fully present, no bullshit, will inspire the people around you to also be in integrity and wanting to do better in their lives too. Do you recognize that? Do you start sometimes to work with men and then they bring their friends, or they say, oh la la, so much things changed around me. Now people are asking more questions. They're being more present too. Is it
yeah,
happening?
totally. Like, we in our workshops, we had fathers or men that they've never came in touch with anything, like with breath work or man's work, or all mindfulness practices, and then they join one of our sessions, and the whole new world is opening up to them. and they suddenly feel feelings they've never felt before, some emotions, some like physical experiences, and then they're suddenly, yeah, I'm going to bring a friend. Then they show up the next time, and then they bring 2 or 3 friends, and it's like, we've talked about it. Had such this amazing experience, and you have to try it. And then they show up, and so the community is growing and growing, and it's even more impactful, of course, if you have the possibility to join a retreat where you have them for 3, 4, 5 days. Then a really huge shift can happen. But also for other people, it's just like we had at one workshop, we had a guy, and it was so nice because you could see it was the first time that he was joining this kind of work, and he said he went through all kinds of emotion, a lot of anxiety to join, like the group exercises or the one-on-one exercises we did there. But he said at the end of the 5-day retreat that it was a closed book for him, and we opened the first page, and now he's excited to start reading the next pages, and that was so nice to hear. And before that, he never did anything like this.
Wow, this is amazing. What do you think will happen when more and more men will do the work? How will it impact the whole world? Imagine tomorrow morning. Imagine something happens in the night, like magic sparkles, and then everybody, all the men tomorrow wake up. It impacts only the men. Let's say it impacts only the men.
Only the man have to do the work. Like the women
Yes.
can continue whatever they want to do, but the man have to do.
It's just for the image of how it will change the world. So imagine there is some magic powder which is being spread, and then the men wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I want to go to men's circle. I want to get in touch with my emotions. I want to be more present. I want to be a mature man." What do you think will change collectively and like?
Wars, no more wars like this. Then I think this constant pushing for more and more and more and more, because at one point you have to, as when is enough. I think would be the two biggest impacts, I think, right away. And then of course, like then it comes how you treat each other, how you treat nature, how you treat animals, also how you are raising your kids. Because if dads or fathers can be more present there with their kids, showing their emotions more, yeah, that would have a huge impact, definitely, yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Me too. But
Yeah.
we we as humans, we find a way to fuck it up again.
This is, yeah, I mean, it helps us grow. That's the journey of
Yeah.
being incarnated.
Yeah, but with everything is like, of course, it's like once you start walking down that path, it comes with a lot of shadow work, a lot of heaviness, a lot of like, they're definitely sad and dark moments. But on the other hand, it's like, if you start walking down that path with curiosity, like with an open heart, with an open mind, there's so much beauty you can find within yourself. And then once you connect to that beauty within yourself, then you start sharing it consciously, unconsciously with the people around you. And then you start people, it's not only that you lift up yourself at one point, you start lifting up the people around you. And that's
Yeah, it's
something
true.
you can also do it if you're completely within your power, um, that has something to do if you're willing to work on yourself on a daily basis. But again, the word, do it with compassion.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to add?
Um, that I love working with Kristen with the Spirit of Breath Collective. And yeah, I want to invite not only men, but ever who's listening today. It's like if you've never done breath work, do your first breathwork session. You can do it online, offline. You can follow us, Spirit of Breath Collective or Spirit of Breath. We offer every Sunday free breathwork sessions. If you're in a place, if you're a man in your place and you think, I need someone to talk to, please reach out or find someone in your community. I will create, I'm in creation of, I want to do a fatherhood circle. This starts in April, where you can come together and share
In
from
person or
father to
online?
father. It's going to be first an online place, but then, of course, the idea is in the midterm to create also in-person events and then follow up with them like retreats where fathers come together and share and explore and heal and grow together.
Oh, it's beautiful. How can people find you easily online to reach out to you and figure out what's the next date for an event? Where's the info?
You can follow me on Instagram, Spirit of Breath, or you can find my webpage, spiritofbreath.net.
Perfect. And I will put the links. Thank you
Perfect.
so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being an inspiration. And I will send your way all of the women I know that look for events for their men.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for opening up the space and also being an inspiration. Also, I'm following your work and it's amazing to see what you've created. And yeah, let's bring some light into the world and inspire people.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your presence. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it, like it, save it. You can follow me and connect with me via social media and my website, simply with my name, Anne-Claire Méret. See you soon with more content from the heart.